The Giants drop another prime time heartbreaker, this time on Monday Night Football to the Pittsburgh Steelers. No shocker at all when it comes to the New York Giants blowing these games. The 28-16 final that we all witnessed was not indicative to how close that this game wasn't. Okay, the New York Giants. Excuse me, I'm looking at some stats. The New York Giants they've invented new ways to lose now every single week. And let me go over some of the positives first that I actually liked in this game, compared to obviously majority of this game going to be negative. Where do I start? Positives. Tyrone Tracy. Let's start with Tyrone Tracy. This kid is slated to be an excellent running back in the future. I think Joe Shane knocked it out of the park with this pick. He runs hard. He looks for that hole well. He's very decisive when he's hitting the hole. He's not dancing around. He's not searching. He's patient. He reminds me a lot of Le'Veon Bell. Fitting that we were playing in Pittsburgh tonight. But, I mean, Tyrone Tracy, bright spot. Dexter Lawrence, again, major bright spot. Brian Burns, bright spot. Andrew Phillips, bright spot. Who else was out there for me? So many. Elijah Chapman had a decent play on a third and long. Bobby Okereke, obviously, with the forced fumble and the fumble recovery. That was huge for the defense, and it gave Daniel Jones and the Giants offense another chance there. We'll get to the offense in a minute, but I think you're all going to know where I'm going with that. So, as the New York Yankees have dropped Game 3 to the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it just goes to show you that the true World Series was the National League Championship Series. But anyway, that just gets rid of the positives, right? Now we'll go on to the negatives, which is pretty much, where do I start? Let's start from the top when it comes down to, let's start top to bottom. Let's start with the head coach. Brian Daboll, you're a joke. You're a joke. How many more pre-snap penalties can this team have during a game? I understand holding. I understand, like I said, I understand holding. I understand certain penalties that sometimes they're just bad luck. Sometimes it's the ref's angle. Sometimes things happen. Whatever the case is, it's not what I'm focused on too much. But the pre-snap motion penalties are just an absolute joke tonight. A joke. How many more pre-snap penalties can this team have? How many more? I'm emotionless with this team. It's so sad now that I'm completely emotionless with this team. I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know what to say anymore. I want this team, I just want them to be competitive. Don't let that score, don't let the 28-16 score fool you. If you didn't watch this game, you would turn it on and say, oh, wow, the Giants are playing competitive tonight. This game was never competitive at all. The first half was full of the Giants getting run. The Giants, they got the ball ran down their throat in the first half. They couldn't stop the run, which alleviated the pass rush. So the Steelers had a great game plan there. Shane Bowen's defense was known to have stopped the run. That's where I'm not getting the miscommunication here. But they played a good bend don't break defense, as Shane Bowen is also known to do. They held Pittsburgh to 3 field goals in the first half. But then again, we go back to the offense being non-competitive again. I'm going to get to Daniel Jones. Trust me, I'm going to get to Daniel Jones. I love Daniel Jones. I love him so much. I'm actually getting, so I'm already diving into him. I got to stop. I got to just 1 second. Let me gather my thoughts here. Once Daniel Jones pops into my head, it's really tough to get him out. There's certain things that this team doesn't do right. It just costs them every single week, right? Whether that's penalties, whether that's penalties in big spots, whether that's a missed tackle here, whether that's a missed field goal here, whether that's not dressing the appropriate players for a game, whether that's, a missed throw here, a fumble there, a missed interception here. Every week, it's the same nonsense, man. It's the same nonsense. To watch this team on a weekly basis play with your emotions, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. I'm emotionless with this franchise now. After these last couple seasons, I'm completely void of emotion. I don't know where to go anymore. They're 2-6. I predicted that they would start 0-8. So I'm not that far off. I predicted they would start 0-8 after they started 0-2. I didn't predict them to start 0-8 before the season. But I had them at 0-8 before week 3, right after they lost to Minnesota, right after they lost that field goal massacre to Washington. I had them at 0-8. They beat a Cleveland team, which is really bad. I can't even remember who their second win was against. It's void. I can't even remember who the second win was against. I just know the first one was Cleveland. But every week it's just becoming more embarrassing with something different. And for me to sit there every single week, whether it's Sunday, tonight, obviously Monday night, and shame on the NFL. Shame on the NFL for putting this team in primetime. The Giants should never get a primetime game until they prove that they could play again on primetime. The Giants just don't deserve to be in these spots. I used to love primetime games when I was younger, when I was like in my early teens, when sports was pretty much my only job in life was to watch sports and talk about it with my friends. But primetime games don't really do nothing for me anymore. I don't care about them. Especially when your team is bad, it just compounds and compounds every single time I have to wait for this team to play on the national stage and watch them embarrass themselves every week. This franchise used to be looked at as one of the top tier, and it still is. It's still a top tier franchise in the NFL based on its history. And revisionist history is only a decade ago that we were a successful team. It's not that we were a successful team 40 years ago and then it just went away. It's just this past decade of Giants football, it's all compounding now to just misery. And it could be worse. I get it. It could be worse. I could have been a Jets fan. I could have watched them not make the playoffs for 14 seasons now in a row. Going on 15 probably this year. It could have been worse. I could have never seen Super Bowls. I understand that. So when people say, "Oh, you saw Super Bowls, so you have nothing to complain about," I get it. Yeah, I have nothing to complain about in terms of that, but it's also been 12 years ago. 12 years ago, this team was successful. I guess one positive aspect of the game is that Daniel Jones and Brian Dable were arguing on the sideline. It's so useless having to watch this franchise. Yo, the podcast is podcast. What's up, bro? Thank you guys. Appreciate the support. You guys do great work over there. Thank you for the continued support on you with you guys every time through social media. Check out the Podcases podcast. They do exceptional work on their podcast here on YouTube and also social media. But let me just get to Daniel Jones because it's eating me up inside. Daniel Jones, I can't fathom a world where Daniel Jones is not my quarterback. I don't remember. Obviously, the Jake Fromm and the Mike Glennon years. Yeah, that doesn't count. I can't remember the years that Daniel Jones wasn't my quarterback. I can't get him out of my head anymore. And until this guy's off my team, he's all I think about when it comes to the Giants. Next week they're playing Washington at MetLife Stadium. The first thing into my head is Daniel Jones is playing. So we most likely will lose that game. I'm speechless now. I'm speechless with this guy. I can't watch him anymore. But I'm going to watch him again next week. I'm doing this to myself. And I knew if you're a logical Giants fan and you've been on board watching Daniel Jones for however many games that he's been a Giant quarterback, you deep down in your heart knew that when the Giants got the ball after the Bobby Okereke fumble, that they weren't going to score. We've seen this show before on repeat. Daniel Jones does not get the big drive that takes you down the field to tie the game. It'll never happen. It hasn't happened. Aside from a couple of times over the last 6 years. When has Daniel Jones ever, if you're being realistic, when has Daniel Jones ever made you feel as a Giants fan the confidence, and I don't want to compare him because this is an unfair comparison, but when has Daniel Jones ever made you feel as a Giants fan the confidence that with 2 minutes to go in a game, he's going to get the football and he's going to drive the offense down the field to tie or take the lead in a game? Never. I'm emotionless when he has the football when the game's on the line. Emotionless with him. And it's a shame because the defense did have its struggles in the first half. They couldn't stop the run at all. It was the bend, don't break approach. You saw Shane Bowen's defense to a T. Shane Bowen's defense's definition to a T was the first half of football against the Steelers. Give up monster yardage inside the 20s and hold the other team to field goals. And in most cases, that will be a recipe for success for the opposite team with a decent offense to win football games. Most times it will be a recipe for success. But with how bad the Giants' offense is, there's only so many drives the defense can handle before they just wipe their hands and say, we can't do this anymore. How many more sacks do we need to get for this offense to do anything for us? Back to Daniel Jones. Again, Troy Aikman, I'm not the biggest Troy Aikman fan, and I typically don't have the volume on the TV. I'll listen to a couple guys on YouTube that I've been following for years now, because I can't stand the broadcasts for these games. But Troy Aikman did an excellent analysis throughout the game of how much Daniel Jones leaves on the field when the Giants are playing. Troy Aikman did an excellent job of letting everybody know who doesn't watch Daniel Jones on a weekly basis. It's easy for guys like me and for other Giant content creators and for other people, other Giants fans who see Daniel Jones on a weekly basis, be able to analyze his play and let you know why he's so bad, not just the fake people at ESPN who don't understand or watch football or sports for that matter. They get their notes before their show and they act like they do it. They're more personality than watchers. But I mean, the first deep ball to Slayton. Great. It was a great pass on a line drive, 43 yards. We loved it. Excuse me. It was a great play. But Aikman said it himself, and I even said it after, as the play was live. I'm screaming at the TV, put that ball on a line over his head. So Slayton is able to run underneath it and run that in for a touchdown. That's what a good quarterback will do. These are the examples that people who are still, it baffles my mind how anybody could still defend Daniel Jones. But the people that still defend Daniel Jones will tell you, look, he made an exceptional throw, 43 yards downfield. How could you complain? He can't throw it deep? No, he can't throw it deep. If that ball's put in the air to where Darius Slayton could just run underneath it, he's in for a touchdown. That's 7 points. Tyrod Taylor would have made that throw, and Russell Wilson would have made that throw. Because you saw Russell Wilson lighten it up throughout the night. And whoever told me Russell Wilson was washed, I knew he wasn't washed. He was in a garbage situation in Denver. He could still play. He could still win you games. Yeah, he's not the Russell Wilson from 10 years ago, yes, but he could still win you a lot of games. There was a third and 6 or a 3rd and 7. And Troy Aikman did an excellent job of analyzing the throw. Darius Slayton ran a 10-yard curl on the outside. Jones, who did not see the cover 2 defense over the top, he waits for Darius Slayton to actually turn around and be wide open before he even gets the ball out of his hands. And again, Troy Aikman is explaining this on live television, and it's making perfect sense. And you see it with your own 2 eyes. He waited so long that he had to overshoot the ball to the point where Darius Slayton reaches all the way up and he gets hammered by the safety. How much more do you need to see? How much more do you need to see? He's awful. Why are people still defending him? He's awful. The interception was unacceptable. Unacceptable. I'm losing my mind with this man. Giants have a shot to tie the game. He just lofts it up in double coverage with the game on the line. Who does that? In his 6th year, who does that? But people will still come on tomorrow and they'll defend him. I don't understand this. He needs an offensive line. He needs weapons. He needs this. How many more quarterbacks need what this guy needs? He needs everything to go right. This guy's going to give me agita. He's going to make me have to see a sports therapist. He's going to have to make me see a sports therapist at some point. I just don't know. I don't know. I wish I had the answer. But I have the answer. It's just we have to wait till after the season to get it. When you put this much stock into a losing franchise, as I do, as a lot of you guys do, I know there's a lot of Giants fans who spend money. They spend their hard-earned money to go to games. I've given up on going to football games for this team. I won't tell anybody how to spend their money. I won't tell anybody how to spend their money, but I've given up when it comes to going to football games, especially at MetLife Stadium. It's atrocious looking. It's gloomy. It has no personality to it. Maybe it helps when the team's good, but it just compounds it for the fact that the team is really bad now. They're 2-6, so you're going to see a lot of empty seats in MetLife for the remainder of the season. You're going to see a lot of opposing teams' fans at MetLife for the remainder of the season. They play in Germany in a couple weeks against Carolina. That easily could be the pick for that. That could be the chance for the Giants to win a game. It would behoove the Giants to lose these next couple games because they have another game against Philly, which they should lose. They have other games that they should lose. But they're going to win just enough games to put themselves out of the reach for a quarterback. A quarterback in the top 3. They could still get a quarterback. But they're going to put themselves in a position now where they're going to... Maybe they beat Washington next week. Maybe they beat Carolina the following week. Now you're at 4-6 before your bye week. Then you start to get believing fans again, just like last year when you knew the season was over, but the Giants were winning at 2-8. The Giants won 3 games in a row, completely blowing their shot at a quarterback. I get it. I get fans don't want to tank. I understand it. And it's not really our choice anyway, whether they win or lose. We just cheer for the result. And then a year or two later, we brag if we were right or not. But at 2-6 now, it would make sense for this team to just continue to lose football games. And they probably don't even have to try to lose games, which is the best part, because they're going to just lose games on dumb plays anyway. As long as Daniel Jones is healthy. Because the Giants were only winning games last year when Tommy DeVito took over and Tyrod Taylor was playing quarterback. So as long as Daniel Jones remains healthy and that injury clause doesn't kick in for the Giants next season, the Giants should have no problem losing plenty of games this year. At all. Especially with Jones at quarterback. Just keep him healthy and we'll lose plenty of games. I'm going to go into another week now of saying how much I want to bench Daniel Jones, and then people on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok are all going to tell me how Jones needs a better line. It's not his fault. Jones needs this. Jones needs that. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't throw with anticipation. He doesn't throw unless the guy is wide open. I'm not just saying it. People that are fed up with Daniel Jones aren't just saying it. Troy Aikman said it tonight on the broadcast. I was so happy to hear him explaining to the national broadcast and the national fan base that are watching the game on ESPN how many yards Daniel Jones leaves on the field. He leaves so many yards on the field. You might, and again, you go back to the Darius Slayton play. Yes, of course, it's a great play. It was a 43-yard pickup, but it could have been a touchdown. Please relook at the play and look at Darius Slayton. You have to put that ball over and with a chance for him to run underneath it and catch it in stride and run in for a touchdown. That's what separates Jones from winning quarterbacks. Winning quarterbacks make that throw for 7. He makes that throw for a 40-yard completion. That's the difference. And it's not every time. And don't get me wrong, it's not every time he makes that throw for a 40-yard completion. He misses way more than he completes. Misses way more of those than he completes. So don't let that fool you at all. Brian Dable didn't have a good night tonight. But I'm still a Dable believer. I really think that this guy is the right head coach. The 2-point play is really sticking out in my head right now. I don't know whose fault that was. I don't know what the play call was. I guess it was a screen to Neighbors where they lined up every offensive lineman on the left side of the field. Analytics will tell you to go for 2 in that spot. I prefer kicking the extra point to make it a 7-point game. I think the Giants got a little too greedy there by not kicking the extra point because there was such a small chance that they were even going to get another touchdown for them to kick another extra point to win it. It's gotten so bad that when Bobby Okereke forced the fumble on Russell Wilson with 3.5, 4 minutes to go, I had no emotion. I didn't cheer. I didn't scream. I didn't yell. Typically on a normal season, I'm up, I'm screaming, I'm cheering. But I knew as long as Daniel Jones was getting the football, we had no chance to win the game. The defense was going to have to do something special, like pick that fumble up and run it in for a touchdown. Because Daniel Jones will not drive your team downfield late in the game to win a game. He just won't do it. So when he threw that mind-boggling interception again, I didn't have any emotion because I knew something was coming. Negatively, I knew something not in the Giants' favor was coming as long as Jones is behind center. I don't get it. I don't get it in year 6 how you're still making these mistakes. I don't know why we're still starting him. You're 2-6. Drew Lock is not your future. I completely understand why people are saying, why play Drew Lock? He sucks. He's not better. I know Drew Lock's not better. But I also know Drew Lock is not Daniel Jones, which gives this team a different look. I've seen Drew Lock throw with anticipation before. Drew Lock can throw the ball 20 yards further downfield than Daniel Jones. Is he better than Jones? Probably not. I agree with everybody. But he's not Daniel Jones. This team needs to put somebody else in at quarterback. That's not Daniel Jones. And at 2-6, I know the season's over. But how many more weeks do we have to do this? It's the same complaints every week. Not even mentioning the strip sack. And that's another problem is everything just compounds with this guy. Another thing is that the guy has absolutely no pocket presence. He's had no pocket presence for 6 years. 6 years of no pocket presence is mind-blowing. I have to laugh because he doesn't understand. I don't know whose assignment it is. It has to be the quarterbacks. When you see Jermaine Illuminor one-on-one with TJ Watt, and you have a running back to your right that you don't audible him to help block. He runs right around them, and he kills Jones. Twice. You're the quarterback. You're supposed to see that. You're supposed to audible. You're supposed to create help for your right tackle. TJ Watt is amazing. I'm suffering here. I'm suffering as a Giants fan. I'm not crying. A little stuffed. But I'm suffering here. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. They play Washington next week. Jaden Daniels is one of the most exciting young quarterbacks in football, coming off that huge Hail Mary loss. I'm sorry, coming off that huge Hail Mary at the end of the game to beat Chicago. I haven't looked yet, but I'm assuming the Giants are already underdogs. I think the Giants have been underdogs in betting underdogs in over 20 games in a row. That's amazing to me. That's amazing that they've been underdogs in over 20 games in a row. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. People will still come on and they will still defend Jones. It blows my mind. I don't get it. I have to laugh. Everybody, top to bottom today, was just a disgrace for the most part, besides a few diamonds in the rough, right? Like Tracy excites me. Malik Neighbors still excites me, but he had a couple key drops. Again, you've got to catch the football. I just don't know. But I'll be tuned in again. I'll be tuned in next week against Washington. I'm a sucker, just like the rest of you guys. I'm a sucker. How early is too early to actually start looking towards the draft? I think at 2 and 6, it's a little early still, but I'm gonna keep my eye on what's the website that's escaping my mind right now. The website that shows you the updated draft order every week. I'm gonna keep my eye on that because I want to see how far the Giants could get up into the draft. They just give us nothing anymore, man. They don't give us anything fun to watch. And I don't want to. I'm not going to blame. It's a real cheap out just to blame the refs all the time. I know the referees in the refs in the NFL are terrible, but I'm not saying this is the reason. So don't take this as that. But it just seems like the Giants never get a call that goes their way in a crucial spot. And I guess when you're a bad team, you kind of magnify stuff like this. Like you when you're really bad, like the Giants have been, you magnify the refs, you magnify penalties, you magnify arguments on the sideline, you magnify post-game speeches. You know, a lot of people didn't have problems with Brian Daboll's post-games in year one. Now everybody hates Brian Daboll's post-games. Everybody says he doesn't talk that much. But everybody said in year one, they like the fact he doesn't give the media anything. But now everybody's saying it sucks. When you win, a lot of stuff is brushed under the rug, man. A lot of stuff is brushed under the rug when you win. But when you're losing, especially in New York, when you're losing, everything is magnified. Everything's magnified. And Brian Daboll's starting to see that now. I think after week 1, Brian Daboll was questioned on his job security. After week 1. Now I'm pretty sure he's going to get a lot of those questions moving forward, right? Because the Belichick rumors are only going to start heating up. I think Belichick to the Giants is like the worst kept secret in football. Unless there's another team that I'm missing. But I feel like Belichick to the Giants is the worst kept secret in football. I know John Mara came out and said he doesn't anticipate making any moves this season or in the offseason, but you have to read the word. You have to read the word anticipate by John Mara because he snuck that in there. If he doesn't anticipate making any moves in the offseason, if the Giants continue on this path and finish with 2 wins, 3 wins, does he make the move? Does he make another? Does he make a move? Does it get that ugly that John Mara decides to make a move? I don't know, because we don't know how the final 10 games are going to play out. That's the key to this whole thing. Is that although John Mara said, "I don't anticipate making any moves," we don't know how the next 10 games are going to play out. If this gets real ugly over the next 10 games, where there's locker room scuffle, where there's Deontay with his guys getting benched, where there's draft picks not performing, if it gets real ugly, John Mara might pull the trigger on a Bill Belichick. He might make a move like that. I don't know. We don't know how he thinks. John Mara didn't just forget. For all the people that are complaining about John Mara, I'm not a John Mara defender, but John Mara didn't just forget how to win, how to get winners on this team. He's done it so many times for so many years. I don't know. I don't know. I just wish it was. I just wish they were competitive, man. I wish they were competitive. Wish they were competitive. As exciting as New York sports was like 3 weeks ago, think about this, right? Think about how bad it's gotten for New York. Let's say 3 weeks ago, the Giants were, what are they now? 2-6? This is how bad it's gotten for New York sports. Like a month ago, the Giants were like 2-3. The Jets were 2-3 or 2-1. The Mets were moving on in the postseason. The Yankees were just hammering the Royals and Guardians. The Knicks were about to get kickstarted last week. Now, fast forward to today, the Giants are 2-6. The Jets are 2-6. The Knicks are 1-2. The Yankees are about to get swept by the Dodgers in the World Series. The Liberty won a championship, but nobody really cares about that. I don't know. I know the Fire Dable chants are going to start rambling at MetLife Stadium. I don't want to fire Dable just yet. I don't want to fire Shane just yet. They knocked it out of the draft. They knocked it out of the park with this draft class. Did he have a lot of rough picks? Evan Neal. How bad is Evan Neal that the Giants played Josh Azudu at left tackle, who on a weekly basis goes out of his way to get Daniel Jones murdered, and then picked up Chris Hubbard off the street, off the practice squad to start at left tackle? How bad is Evan Neal that he can't play over those guys? You got to be all world bad to not be able to get on the field. I don't know. It seems like a nice place to end it off with Evan Neal, but Giants fall again to 2-6. Season's over, I guess. Like, I think the season's over. They'll probably beat Washington. They'll probably beat the Panthers, and they'll be 4-6 into the bye. And then we'll all be stupidly talking about their playoff odds to get into the NFC playoff picture. But if you guys jumped into this live, I really appreciate you guys watching. Share, like, and subscribe. Pudgy Boys Podcast on social media as well. We are growing. We're going to get a lot more different stuff on the channel moving forward. Maybe some Knicks stuff. Got some baseball stuff. And, if you guys have jumped in, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you on the next one.